All right, so let me say hello and welcome to another weekly edition of Stock Market Mutterings. Doug here with the LincolnList.com. This is for the week that begins on October 14th. And as always, I'll do my very best to try to make some sense out of this market, share with you my trade ideas, my setups, my thoughts and feelings, and I hope that puts a little bit of money in your pocket. Now, before we get started, for some of you out there that are trying to take your trading game to a more professional level, I'm going to post a link right here on the screen. It'll direct you right to our live trade room, so feel free to trade with us live. Now, for those of you that out there that cannot commit to a full-time trading environment, I'm going to post a link. You can now follow us via our live trade feed. And for the traders out there that are trying to grasp technical analysis, understand chart setups, inflection points, moving averages, and how the market works on a day-to-day basis, I'm going to post a link right up here to our free DVD. Go ahead and check that out. So I'm going to just kind of build from what I did just yesterday when I was talking about in the happy hour, that they're playing us. They're just spitting in our face, guys. They're taking us for fools, like we're fools or something like that with this trade war. They just keep throwing around the same headlines. And I think I speak for everyone at this point when we're like, damn, will this thing just be over with? It's so annoying, and we're starting to see such erratic movements in the market. Not I shouldn't say really erratic, but just short-term bursts from one side to the next side and over. It just gets frustrating to continue to have this thing drag out. Now, all eyes were going to be on this almighty, powerful, world-fixing trade war agreement that was going to come to these power meetings on Thursday and Friday. So we go, and the market starts rallying that there's going to be a trade deal. And then they realize there isn't going to be a trade deal. So it rallies on a partial trade deal. And then it ends up rallying because they don't even know what kind of deal it is. So they just call it a phase one deal. None of it, what the hell is a phase one deal? It's just like they're making up this stuff as they're going along, right? They're just making it up as they're going along. And like I said in the happy hour, somebody's profiting on this. They're doing this on purpose. And right now it's like they're not even hiding it, you know? So as I'm doing this, market's now closed. We'll see how this digests a little over the weekend. Maybe some more details come out, some more events or whatever it might be, and then we'll see where we stand on Monday. On one hand, you get frustrated, and on the other hand, you get comical. You're like, Jesus, what do you think, we're idiots? But anyway, if you're going to play, you got to deal with this. It comes with the territory. You got to deal with it because we don't have the power to change it, so we got to live with it and try to do our best. So let's talk about doing our best and what's on the table here. I'll go with the market based on a technical perspective, but please understand, and I'm sure you do, that at any given second, one tweet could change the whole entire landscape of everything. It's that sensitive. So the SPY right here did ultimately end up closing above its 20 moving average, which normally would be very bullish on this daily chart. It did have some sort of technical analysis behavior because where this whole sell-off started, it's off of all-time highs, obviously, but that little press down, let's say the beginning of the month, you had a little bit of aggressive selling there. It got right back up to that. Got right back up to the highs there of 10.1, which is roughly like 298. So as we start moving forward, pay attention to 298. If they get going on 298 again, you're going to be back in the same scenario that has played out about a dozen times, or at least it feels like a dozen times. I know it hasn't been that way. And that is every event results in a new high. So we go back, Brexit, big washout. What was the result? V-shape right back up to high, right? Election, washout, V-shape right back up to high. You had like a correction in February, March, or whenever, back up to all-time high. You had the sell-off last December, right? I was talking about the February of 2018, the year before that, 17. And then you had this bigger correction in December. What happens? A few months later, all-time highs. You had the sell-off there in October, all-time highs. Just name it. Every sell-off that's resulted in 2 to 5 to 10 to 20% has, within months, gone back to all-time highs. So if you start moving back up there, that's going to be the muscle memory of this market. As ignorant, as unjustified, as bizarre, as psychotic as it may sound, that could still happen. That could still happen. Now, if we're going to sell off, I mean, you might get some wild days that are going to press down. We've had a lot of those since August. But you're not going to sell me on any bear case. And you're not going to sell me on a continued aggressive sell-off Until you can get under the 200-day moving average, it won't do it. You got all the way down here in October, you can't get under it. It won't stick underneath of it. You had all of these wicks. We were talking about it in the market mutterings in August. I'm losing my mind already. And then you had a couple of sell-offs here, and it's still holding up. And I mean, you saw the aggressive sell-off. Maybe I shouldn't even use the word aggressive. You saw the sleight of hand sell-off on Wednesday night based on China saying that, hey, we're not anywhere close to a deal. And then the next day, we're already green. The market literally from that moment rallied like 800 points almost in about a day and a half worth of trading. So that's showing you how this game is working. And that's what we got to do as traders. Again, I can't change that. I can't get frustrated with that. I got to make money off of that because there's a money-making opportunity there. And if you look at the Dow, same thing. It just hugged along here on the daily. Look how it just kind of held on there and never really closed underneath of that. Got down in there a couple days ago, still same thing. So until you get underneath of that, I will not be on the bear case of we're going to see aggressive, heavily percented pullbacks. That's the market. Now, there are some stocks that still look hella good. There's like a lot of longs still out there. And it'd be nice to see how they open up Monday because you hate looking at these things gapping up 3 and 4 and stuff like that. But let's start with LULU. This is a pretty good looking chart, just curling right off the moving average. But one of the issues that you're going to have here is some of these things are very touchy because they've already made big moves. And you want to find these moves before they happen. But there are some that still have some potential for some upside. So we'll talk about those and give them the benefit of the doubt. But then we'll look at them also as potential shorts. I think if things get super bullish, there's little doubt this thing goes up, in my mind, to 204, 205s and puts in an impressive day. Now, maybe it's a one-day event. Maybe it pulls back on Monday, rallies on a Wednesday. I don't know, but pay attention to that. Now, in the event that you start to see aggressive selling or many of these stocks that we're going to look at on this list today that have gapped up, they might actually turn out the value might come onto the short side once we've had a chance to digest this news. So don't rule out either side of the equation here. So I kind of like LULU there. And one here that I'm not so interested in shorting at the moment that actually looks more like a long is this freaking Tesla. I don't know where it came from. They got earnings coming up, obviously. But the cult is real. The cult is real with this. It's right back up here. This 251? Man, 251 goes. You know it's going to spike. It may not hold it, but I would think for sure, based on the behavior of this stock, the way that this stock operates, it's probably going to pound right into this 200-day moving average in the blink of an eye, which is going to be 256. There's going to be cash there. There's always a trade in Tesla, but there's going to be some cash in this Tesla, so put that one on your list. Now, there's a couple here I want to look at short that I think because of this rally will give us who like to do shorting a little bit of an opportunity. And one is FDX. I've had some pretty good success with this one since their earnings, shorting this on bounces. Now, the last 3 days have been pretty good for this one. It kind of looks just like it did at the beginning of the month. But you got a nice little bounce, 136 to 145. Now, the scenario I would like to see here is you have these stocks that you have short ideas, you have long ideas, you have plan A and plan B. That's how I do it. So the plan is for me is if you start gapping up early on, like you're either going to gap up, open flat, or gap down. One of those three. So if you gap up and you see a big press on a stock like this, it goes 147, 148. Maybe there's some extra bullish news and this thing goes vertical up there. I will short this one. I would short this one before I would go to a Tesla or something like that. I like this one that way. Now, sometimes the market will just gap down. That takes the short idea off the table. You wouldn't want to do it if it gapped down to 142. In that case, you may want to look at other solid, strong stocks that have been performing well, like Apple or like NVDA, that have really strong chart patterns and have been floating around highs for days. They're going to be the first ones to bounce. But I like this one here as a short. And I also like CVNA. There's another one that's, and the thing about this I didn't mention with FDX is obviously in a longer term downtrend. CVNA, these are longer term downtrends. And one thing that traders, we need to understand is when you're buying a stock, are you buying a stock intraday? Like if you're day trading, are you buying that stock that's bullish on the daily, bearish on the daily? And that helps you kind of say, where's the overall trend? So the overall trend on something like this is obviously down because it's been going down. and you've gotten a spike. So is this spike because of the market's 700-800 point run? Is it like the rising tide lifts all boats scenario here with this? I think it is on these. So if it comes time to do the shorting, you're going to want to run to these naturally weak stocks like FDX, like this one, sometimes Netflix, and go with those, especially if they get up towards resistance. So I like FDX and I like CVNA as shorts. APPN is another one here. This stock's just been floating. It's a former runner. It's pulled back, and it's been just floating down here at the 50 moving average, which is now acting as resistance. And that's also 50.82, which is short-term resistance. It needs a little bit of work. It's not the best looking chart that I've ever seen in my life, but it's starting to tighten up and it's trying to come out of here. Again, if you start to see just senseless bullishness to start the week, and it appears as if they keep floating headlines around and they're not going to let this market come in, watch this one. If you get a close, I think you got to get a close above that before you can really say, all right, this thing's ready to go. Get a close above that 50 moving average, which is like 51.50. There's some space. I'm not saying it's going to go back to its highs of 60.87, but I think there's some cash to be had there on a 1 to 2 day run. Just like when I did the video this week about Roku, even though these things go in long-term downtrends, when they sit there and they have those price levels that build over a certain period of time, like Alta did the week before, like Roku did this week, when they bust out of that level, they just get, people just start flocking into them. People, algos, whatever. So watch this APPN. And I did mention NVIDIA. I like this one too. And I think there's a couple of things you could do with NVIDIA right here. And that is you're getting a lot of resistance. I mean, look at the top wicks on the daily chart right there at 189.34. So you're getting a lot of resistance every time it gets up to that level. So again, if you break that level, you're going to see a pretty abrupt move, I think, in this that takes you to 195, maybe even back to 200. But then, like I said in the beginning, we got to start looking at these both directions now because this market is skittish. And we don't know what we're going to wake up to here, or we have less of an understanding of what that might be. If it continues to get rejected off here, it's probably a short because now you're looking at 3 times spanning over the course of a month and a half. It just can't do it. So one way or the other, NVIDIA is really on tap this week for something to happen. It's either going to break that level and start running, or it's going to finally reject off of that and start coming down towards the 50 moving average where it was just a week or two ago at 170. So in review, I like LULU, possibly long. It needs a little bit of work. Tesla's Tesla. Let's leave it at that. FDX, CVNA, a little more conviction to the short side. I'm not interested in buying those stocks right now whatsoever. If the market changes to where I feel that my impulse is to buy stuff, I'll buy Apple, I'll buy NVIDIA, I'll buy somebody else. But I don't want to buy those two. So I'm more convinced to the short side. APPN and NVIDIA long. A couple of there. So anyway, again, guys, I want to thank you for watching this video. You know where I'm at. If you need some help, feel free to reach out to me. Until next week, hang in there, man. Hang in there, man. Let's see if we can calm down on these tweets. Maybe they need to shut the Twitters down for a little while. Let's calm down on these tweets, put this trade war stuff there behind us. See if we can put together a really solid, clean week of trading. Until then, take care. Trade well.